Between 1850 and 1950, railroads transformed Tampa and the communities around it. More than a transportation system, the railroad became a force that shaped settlement, work, land values, and local identities. In places like Lutz, Land O'Lakes, and Plant City, the railroad connected rural communities to Tampa while also changing what those communities were and what they would become. Before railroads, movement through this region was slower and far less dependable. In what would become Hillsborough and Pasco counties, just north of Tampa, early settlements formed around stagecoach relay stations between Brooksville and Tampa. However, those communities would remain relatively independent for decades. Furthermore, because the available modes of transportation, such as horse and trailer, walking, the use of water skiffs, they determined which agricultural markets could be sustained or which types of industries would flourish. Henry Bradley Plant was an entrepreneurial pioneer at the end of the 19th century. His strategic vision of opening up the southeastern United States and the state of Florida in particular with an integrated rail and nautical shipping system would develop interconnections between different modes of transportation by tying together schedules, infrastructure, and regional cultures in a way making it possible to move people and goods from New York all the way to Havana, Cuba, with a brief holiday at his Tampa hotel, of course. Plant was a Connecticut native who had come south during the 1850s, searching for a cure for his wife's tuberculosis. He remained during the Civil War as a Northern Express Shipping Company representative and continued to operate and grow his shipping business after the cessation of the war. By 1895, with the consolidations of other rail companies, Plant had a successful network of rails between Montgomery, Charleston, and Tampa. To connect with the trade of the Caribbean, Plant created the Plant Steamship Line in 1886. In addition to his transportation ventures, Plant lured Northerners to visit Florida, most notably with his magnificent Tampa Bay Hotel. When Henry Plant bought the railroad down the Gulf Coast from Pensacola to Tampa in 1884, he opened the door for many businesses to flourish. The railroad was at the center of Tampa's economy, bringing it more in line with other regional hubs which developed outside of the rural confines often found in the Deep South. From downtown, it ran to the port where travelers could board a plant line steamship to Mobile, Cuba, Jamaica, or even Bermuda. However, both northern and regional investors were leery of building a hotel for those travelers on the magnitude Plant envisioned, so Plant decided he would fund and build it himself at a cost of $3 million back that time. It took 2 years to build, covered 6 acres, and was a quarter-mile long. His efforts eventually paid off, providing high-end accommodations, including up to 7-room suites, providing a degree of luxury never before seen in Tampa. All 511 rooms had electricity and telephones, while most also had private baths. Guests traveled between 5 different floors in two of Florida's first passenger elevators. But enough about Henry Plant. Let's talk about what his railroad did to Tampa and its neighboring communities. As Tampa expanded, the railroad strengthened its role as the region's commercial center, becoming the hub that drew surrounding rural areas into larger markets, which reinforced the need for towns to embrace Henry Plant's transportation network. Once rail access improved, communities around Tampa no longer existed on as only isolated settlements. They themselves became critical hubs as part of wider economic systems, those of shipping, land speculation, and intra and interstate agricultural exchange. Union Depot in Plant City is one of the early examples in Florida of the practice by separate railroad companies serving the same town in order to combine their resources in sharing railroad terminals. Additionally, the station served as a physical reminder to the Plant City community that the railroad was responsible for the town's creation and its sustainment. By 1928, Plant City was connected by 6 lines of the Atlantic coastline and the Seaboard Air Line to the rest of Florida. Plant City served as the surrounding rural area hub for shipping agricultural products. The freight depot at the terminal was unique in that the farmers were paid by their buyers at the station platforms as the strawberries were delivered for shipment. The volume of agricultural shipment was a major part of the economy of Plant City, with nearly 4 million quarts of berries shipped between 1926 and 1927. The founding and eventual flourishing of the agricultural community Plant City illustrates how railroads could directly drive socioeconomic growth. Rail transportation made it possible to move perishable crops quickly and reliably, which encouraged market-oriented business changes. This was pivotal to the establishment of Plant City as a shipping center rather than remain a self-sustaining settlement. The railroad, therefore, shaped both economy and identity. It gave Plant City a reason to grow and a way to define itself within the Tampa region. While the railroad was still a central factor, Lutz developed differently than its neighbors. Rail access made the transformation viable by connecting local producers and landowners to Tampa's economy. In this way, Lutz illustrated how the railroad extended Tampa's reach outward, with its future shaped by regional exchange and suburban possibilities. Moving even further north from Tampa, the area now known as Land O'Lakes reveals the railroad's power to create communities almost from scratch. Local records illustrate that many central Pasco settlements were lumber and turpentine towns that developed along transportation routes and later along railroads. By 1910, one of these towns, Denham, had emerged as a recognizable community at the intersection of today's State Road 54 and US 41, following the construction of the Tampa Northern Railroad. The settlement included a depot, a sawmill, housing, and a commissary, demonstrating that the railroad did not just pass through the landscape, it actually organized daily life around itself. The name Denham came from William Bailey Denham, a railroad executive associated with the Tampa Northern Railroad and the larger railroad tied to Tampa's growth. That naming convention mattered. It showed how infrastructure could become memory and how a community could inherit its identity from the railroad men and rail corridors that made it visible. Even after the original settlement pattern changed, railroad-era place names survived in institutions like Myrtle Denham School, built in 1934. By the late 1940s, the railroad had already done much of its long-term work. In central Pasco, small communities once distinguished by individual depots, post offices, schools, and timber operations were increasingly drawn together by shared incorporated institutions. In 1949, residents voted to adopt the name Land O'Lakes, and by 1950, the new name had officially displaced older labels like Denham and Drexel. The change suggested modernization and unity, but it also rested on a social geography first created by the railroad corridor. The railroad's greatest effect on Tampa's surrounding communities was not simply that it moved goods or passengers. It reordered the landscape. It helped make Plant City a commercial center. It linked Lutz more closely to Tampa's expanding economy and turned scattered central Pasco settlements into the framework of what eventually became Land O'Lakes. Between 1850 and 1950, the railroad made communities more connected, more specialized, and more dependent on regional exchange. And in doing so, It helped create the map of modern Central Florida.